Well, good afternoon, just about. At least it's good afternoon in Northumberland. I'm not sure what time it is in the rest of the UK. And I thought I would do a video on this lovely Saturday afternoon, which hopefully will see the crowning of England as the Six Nations champions. I thought I'd do a video on the section C of Duff's Greek New Testament grammar, and this is essentially a translation of 1 John 3 verses 4 to 10, or if you come from a different and less cultured part of the globe, 1 John 3 verses 4 to 10. That isn't meant to be patronising. I have a lot of very nice American and transatlantic friends. So I thought I'd do a video of this. So principally for my New Testament Greek group that meets on a Wednesday lunchtime, which you are welcome to join. If you want, you'll need the link to the Zoom meeting. And I thought this would make it a little bit easier when we try to tackle this on Wednesday. So essentially, I'm going to do all the hard work for you because I'm in a very charitable mood today. And I'm going to show you a little bit about how we go about using the Greek New Testament and how we go about translating a passage like this. And this will give you a real feel of moving from Greek grammar in a textbook to actually using the text of the Greek New Testament, which is a slightly different thing, as you'll see, I think, quite early on. One of the things that I said in the introduction to the video I did on Chapter 8 is that if you're an ordinary mortal like myself, there is only so much vocab, grammar, declensions, parsing that you can hold in your head in any one go. And if you simply to stack up more and more declensions and verb forms and all the rest of it, you'll simply end up giving up because most people don't have a kind of memory that can just hold all that. So you have to some point say, well, it's time to stop just learning luo, luai, sluai, and so on, and it's time to start using the language. Much as, if you go to France, you have to reach a point where you say, I now need to go and use this language because I will then learn more as I pick it up as I go along. So the idea of this and the idea of starting to use the Greek New Testament, which we are scheduling, I think, for a week on Wednesday, that's if the government hasn't abolished New Testament Greek as Zoom meetings as part of the lockdown, we will actually start using Mark's Gospel. But this is a translation of 1 John 3 verses 4 to 10, which for David and Elaine might be really useful because I think Whitley Lodge at the moment is working his way through the epistles of John. So without further ado, if you have section C open, you might find it useful to have a bit of paper that sits under the under each line. The other thing that you might find useful to have, two things you might find useful to have. One is a modern translation. This is the NIV, the updated NIV, which I generally use because it does a decent job of kind of being the best of both worlds, being a readable translation as well as being reasonably accurate to the Greek, although sometimes it will drive you nuts because of the liberties it takes with the text. The other thing that I have next to me, which you are going to need when you come to use the Greek New Testament, is my Bagster, which is falling apart, much like my Greek New Testament is. And what a Bagster is, this is a lexicon, and it contains within it every word that you find in the Greek New Testament, and it has them in alphabetical order. So once you know your Greek alphabet, you can just, as you would use an ordinary English dictionary, just work your way through. It will tell you, it will give you the word that you don't know, because that's why you've gone there in the first place, because you've come across the word you don't know, and it'll tell you exactly what it is and where it comes from and refer you to other bits of the book. should be simple enough. So I'm going to go through this text, and I'm going to do so one word at a time. So the first word is pass, and I'm going to do so one word at a time. So the first word is pass, and pass is an adjective, really, and it has a masculine and feminine neuter forms. Pass, pass a pan is the way it goes. So it's irregular, but essentially you get used to it. Anything that looks like this means literally all. So we use the word pan-European. Honda make a very nice motorbike called the Pan-European. We might say Pan-America. Yeah, we use it to include everybody. Well, at the moment we have a pandemic, which means it's everywhere. So pass is quite a flexible word meaning all or everyone. Here it clearly means every person. And this is the masculine form, masculine nominative. Everyone. And then you have jumping the gun, hopoion, which is a participle, masculine, nominative, singular, poion, from the word verb poio, to do, and this means literally doing, and with the article it means the doing one, so it means all the doing ones, or more simply, everyone who does is what we would say in English. And then tein chamatian, you remember, it's an accusative, feminine noun. Everyone who does sin, we don't translate the article there because it's an abstract noun, and abstract nouns tend to take the article, but we don't translate them. So everyone who does sin. Kai, I think I said to you this week that although you learn the word kai as meaning and, it's a bit broader than that. It can sometimes mean but. Maybe we would translate preferred to mean also or in addition to. And here, as Duff has said, you really, although we probably wouldn't translate it at all here, if you're going to translate it, you'd probably use the English word also. So all the doing ones of sin, all the ones doing sin, also, probably leave that out. Saying anomian poi. You've done nomos, law. So this is a negative form of that. And anomia is lawlessness. So nomos is law. When you put an alpha at the start of a noun, very often it becomes a negative. And we do this in English. We have moral and we have amoral. And you can probably think of several others where the initial A sound negates the noun. And this is true of anomia, which means lawlessness. So although you don't know that word, you can kind of work it out because it's got an alpha at the start. It clearly is related to nomos, so lawlessness. So also the lawlessness, and again, you wouldn't translate the definite article there, poi does. So literally what we have here is everyone who does sin, just simply everyone who sins is lawless, commits lawlessness, does lawlessness. And so if you look at how the NIV has translated that, everyone who sins breaks the law. So that's the way the NIV has gone with it. You may agree with that completely. You might want to put your own spin on it slightly. There's a certain amount of flexibility here. Kai, following on from the next phrase, Kai, also and hei hamatia estin hei anomia. So you have a double nominative here, and sin is lawlessness, which I think is exactly what the NIV does. In fact, so that's a good flexible use of kai. In fact, sin is lawlessness. And that's quite a good way of putting it. You kind of have to be. It's knowing to what extent to take liberties with the text when you're translating. When I was doing the text, I had to choose a text for Whitley Lodge Baptist each year, and I tended to use my own translation of the Greek for the verb that I chose. And sometimes I got asked which version it was. It's Paul Richard's Revised Version. And the great thing about learning Greek is you can start doing that with some confidence. Okay, anyway. Sin is lawlessness. That's your first verse done. Gets a bit harder now, but that was fairly easy. Kai oidate. And although, again, you might not want to translate, you might want to translate it, but which is what the NIV has done. Kai oidate. Now, oidate is one of these words that it's best just to learn the word, it's such a weird, it's what I call a weird Greek word. It comes from oida, which is from an obscure verb called ido, which you won't, I think, find in the New Testament. And oida is I know, and this is the second person plural form. Now, I suggest that you don't exhaust your brain capacity trying to learn all the different conjugations and all different forms of oida. Just this looks like, doesn't it? It looks like a second person plural because it's got ati at the end, and that's what it is. Or but you know. So just learn that oida and stuff like oida men, for instance, is the first person plural, and just learn that oidate means and it's much easier learning that than learning all the different forms of this weird verb. Hoti is the next word. Now, I don't think we've come across hoti yet. Hoti is a funny little word that crops up all over the place, and it can mean different things. Sometimes it is like here, like a relative. We know that. Sometimes it introduces direct speech. Sometimes it can mean because. Here it means it's a relative pronoun. I got that right, haven't I? I sometimes forget all these different forms. I'm not a proper Greek scholar, as I keep explaining to you. We know that, and then ekainos is that. There are two words for this and that: hutos and ekainos. And ekainos is that, and it declines just like the adjective forms. It has masculine, feminine, neuter. Hutos, which is this, does a similar thing. You get used to it. You come across more hutoses than ekainos actually. And that one, as Duff has said, that one. So this is referring to Jesus. What the NIV has done is simply translated T. But literally, I mean, it's a bit of a mouthful, and we know that one, meaning, of course, Jesus himself. But in fact, in a sense, the NIV has left it out altogether. I'm just not bothered with these words, which is a bit of a liberty, actually, because the next word means he was revealed. It's third person singular, and phanerothe comes from the verb phaneroo, which is one of the one of the obscure Greek verbs that ends in o, omicron, omega. And if you feel so inclined and you have excess brain space, you'll probably find it somewhere in Duff. I've not looked at where in Duff this is. I know when it comes almost at the end, are O verbs. To be honest, and let me be really honest with you, I can't be doing with learning all the forms of Favorito because I just don't have that much intelligence. So I simply look it up in Bagster, and I look it up, then I look up Bagster, and it tells me that this is a third person singular aorist indicative passive. So third person singular means he, aorist, it's happened, punctilia, in a punctiliar sense, it has happened, and it's passive. Now, I think, sorry, if you're feeling like giving up at this point, please don't. Please stick with it. It gets easier. I don't think we've done passives yet, but it's not that difficult. But passive forms are different from active forms. And just as in English, we say, what might we say? I hit, and that's an active, and a passive would be I was hit. It happened to me. An active is when I do the action, a passive is when it happens. And this is an aorist passive. Third person singular. So he was, and Favorito means to reveal. It means what the NIV has done with it, appeared, which is also okay. We use the word epiphany, which is about an appearance upon, epi upon appearance. It's the same. It's essentially the same word, and it means to appear or to be revealed. You can go either way with it. It has a certain amount of flexibility, and the passive, of course, means it happened to him. So, and that one was revealed, and then Hina, which is another. Lots of little words like this that you come across that you'll get used to. Hina occurs a lot. It's not like the Geordie Hina. Hini, which means my sweet, my loved one. Hina means in order that, so that, for the purpose of. It's that kind of word. Now, please, you just like you get used to Kai, you get used to Hina, and you get used to Hottie. They appear quite a lot, and you in the end, you get the feel of it. And it is about getting the feel of it. So, and you know that one we might say was revealed in order that, or so that, tas hamartias, it's a nice easy one for you, the sins, I guess that's an accusative, isn't it? I think that's going to be an accusative. Yeah, of course it is. Sorry, being stupid here. It's an accusative plural. So the sins, and then array. I'm sorry, this is such a complicated sentence, but don't give up. Just stick with it. Array is a third-person singular aorist subjunctive active. So breaking that down, the verb is airo, alpha, iota, rho, omega, which means to bear or to carry or take away, or even destroy. It can have all of those meanings, which gives you some flexibility in terms of translation. And a subjunctive active. It means that he, third person, he did it. And I think we've talked about subjunctive moods. A subjunctive expresses often possibility. So an English subjunctive where I might go shopping, I may sit down with a cup of coffee. And so here it has that expression, in order that he might take away or bear. Go which way you want. The NIV has gone for take away. The NIV has gone for a takeaway, Chinese or Indian, I don't know. That he might take away kai in order that the sins he might take away. Kai hamatia en auto ugestin. This is a much easier phrase, but although here we probably want to translate it. Oh no, the NIV says and sin en auto dative under the influence of en uk estin not is, and sin in him not is, or and in him there is no sin. Okay, which is what and in him is no sin is what the NIV has translated. So that's a nice easy way to end the verse. Okay, so I'm hoping that you've kind of managed to get there, and you know that one was revealed in order that sin, that he might take away or bear sin, and in him there is no sin. You could translate that, but in him, or even though there's no sin in him, probably at a push. So I hope that the verse 5 was a bit of a toughie, wasn't it? Hope that's managed to help you. Verse 6, a bit easier now. We've covered some of this ground. Pascho en auto meno. Meno is to remain. Here we have clearly a participle, and everyone in him remaining, or everyone who abides, if you want to use a slightly more old-fashioned word. Hamartanai, hamartano from hamartia, sin. This is the verbal form. And third person singular, which you should be able to see, luo, luais, luai, simple enough. Not sinners. So no one who lives in him or who remains in him, NIV has lives in him. No one lives in him, keeps on sinning. So the NIV has maintained the present tense there with the keeping on sinning, as opposed to the aorist, which would mean no one sins. Now, there's theological questions to be answered about that. That's not the purpose of this video, about what it means to not carry on sinning. There's far greater biblical scholars than I will ever be have wrestled with those sorts of questions, but the translation is simple enough. Everyone who lives in him does not sin, does not carry on sinning. So we would express it as no one who remains in him. I think I wouldn't say lives in him, because it isn't live. It's meno. It's not live. I want to say abide or remain in him. Keeps on sinning. Okay, and then pas ho hamartanon. Everyone who sins, all the sinning ones. He who everyone who sins. You've got, of course, a singular form of the participle there, hamartonon, but with pas, it incorporates everyone. So pas, in a sense, is singular, meaning all, but so it's got a singular form of the verb. So, but we would say all who sin. Aoraken. Aoraken is the third person singular perfect from the verb oreo. I think it's Oreo, which is, I'm told, is an Attic dialect. This is another look up your Bagster job. And this is a perfect tense. Now, we've not done the perfect tense, but essentially the perfect tense is completed action. So we would say, I have sat down. I've done it. It's finished. And it's characterized by two things, although because this is an irregular verb, it's another weird verb. It isn't the same. It's not quite true, but usually there's a repetition of the first sound of the verb, and then there's a kappa in the middle as well before the ending. So you get used to looking for those. I've got a feeling that there is a better. There might be a better example of a perfect later on. If not, there's one right at the start of Mark's Gospel, so we'll get there. So it means perfect tense, not seen. So everyone who sins has not seen. Out on him, simple enough. Uda, neither. Egnoken. This is an irregular aorist of ginosko, and I will simply leave it at that. I think you've done ginosko. I know. It's a little bit of a strange verb. Let's leave it there for now. It's an irregular aorist. Of ginosko to know. So everyone who sins has not seen him, has not known him. And the NIV translates, no one who lives and keeps on sinning. Then no one who continues to sin has either seen him or known him. So that's the way the NIV has translated it. Okay, that should be straightforward. I mean, don't worry about the words you don't know. It's 20. I've been doing this 28 minutes. I'm almost finished with coffee, and I can't do any more gardening because it's raining. So I'm okay for a bit. Let's go to verse 7. Technia. This is a variance. I mean, just as in English, we have variants, don't we? I don't know, we might say kiddywinks, different areas, different dialects, different people, different styles. It's clearly techna, which is children, a neuter plural nominative. It's just that for some bizarre reason, when John wrote it, he stuck an iota in, perhaps because that's the way he was used to saying the word children. Anyway, this is the sort of stuff that happens. You get used to it. It's clearly children, plural, nominative. May dice. This is a form of the negative. You're familiar with may already. This means here nobody. Planeto, which is I've made a note down here. Third person singular, present imperative, active. From plan AR. Now, this is what you really think. This looks like a first person first person singular of an omega verb. But unfortunately, you'd be wrong there. And I wouldn't have known it had I not looked at it, Bagster. This is from planeo, which is an alpha omega verb, which, again, as I said, like the Omicron omega verbs, the o and the ao verbs are weird. Proper Greek scholars will probably shoot me at this point. It's a Baxter job, for me anyway. So planeto is an imperative form because it's one of these weird verbs from planeo. Let him deceive. So let nobody deceive. Hamas, you get used to Hamases. A lot of them in the Greek New Testament. This is a personal pronoun, second person accusative. I believe, I'm pretty sure that's right. I didn't look it up, but it's you haven't really learned the personal pronouns yet, other than autos, which is the third person. So the first person is ego, where we get ego, and then it declines mo, I think. And the second person goes sose, su, so, and then in the plural it goes Hamas, and so on. You just get used to Hamas. It's the second person plural of the personal pronoun. So let no one deceive you, or let yourselves not be deceived. Then we're on to surer ground here. Harpoion tein dikaiosinain, dikaios estin. So the doing one of righteousness is righteous. Hopefully, if we think you've had dikaios, which is the righteous, the adjective. So the one who does righteousness is righteous. The one who does what is right is righteous, is how the NIV has translated it. Kathos, you come across this, which is a combination of kai and os, and we translated just as. So kathos, again, is a common word in the Greek New Testament. It means just as. Ekainos, that one, we've had already. Dikaios, righteous is. So what we have, the one who does righteousness, the one who does what is righteous, or the one who does righteousness is righteous, just as that one, he, referring to Jesus from earlier on, ekainos, dikaios, righteous is just as he is righteous. So the one who does right is righteous, just as he is righteous. Then verse 8. Poion tein hamartian. You should be able to translate that easily enough now. The doing one of sin. Ek tu diabolou. So I'm not sure you had diabolos yet, but you can work it out. One of my favourite drinks in France is called Diabolo Citron. I'm kind of wondering whether it's some kind of drink of the devil. I always have wondered that, but it's actually lemonade with Siro, so I don't know why they would call it that. Diabolos, where we get diabolical, is devil, as distinct from Satanas, Satan. Huge discussion about the distinction in the terminology. Again, not our purpose here. So the doing one of sin, ex tu diablo, means out of the devil, really of the devil, is the way we would translate it. Estin is. NIV, the one who does what is sinful is of the devil. Simple enough. Hoti, because here, from apo, from the beginning. Our case is a genitive under the influence of apo. Ap loses the omicron because of the the vowel beginning of RK, RKs here, the genitive form. Because from the beginning, the devil, or diablos, hamartonai, sinners, interesting use of a present tense, which would probably translate from the devil. The devil's is a sinner from the beginning. The devil has been sinning from the beginning. You have to probably do something like that with it to make it make sense in English. Okay, eis tutor. You come across both these words literally into this, and eis tutor is a colloquial expression meaning for this purpose, for this reason. Ephanerothe, which you've come across before, was revealed, was made known, was made manifest, wherever you like. Ephanerothe, Hochios to Theo, the Son of God. Hina, in order that Luce. Now this is this is Luo. You know Luo, don't you? Luo. This is a third-person singular aorist subjunctive active. So again, it's a subjunctive form which you've not really learned yet, but you know what subjunctive means now. It's in order that he might. So we know Luo as loose or untie. For this reason, the Son of God was revealed in order that he might release, ta erga, the works, eutonel, so on, to diabolou. So you have to supply a sense there. The reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the devil's work. Now, what the NIV has done is translated loose, so he might release or untie. This translates destroy. I think it's a bit naughty because it isn't destroy. There's a separate word for destroy, and this is not it. And the sense is creating freedom, not destroying. I would want to translate it more personally. I'd want to translate it more for this reason. The Son of God was revealed in order that he might release us, probably supply a personal pronoun there, from the works of the devil. Certain amount of latitude. There's probably all sorts of probably biblical scholars will explain to me why that's completely wrong, but you get the sense anyway. Here we're thinking about translation principally. Pass, verse 9. Pass heart gegenemnos. So this is a more common perfect. This is what I was saying earlier on. Although there's no kappa in it. And perfects usually are formed by repetition of the first syllable. So gegenemnos comes from the verb ginomai, which means become, come into existence, and so on. It's one of these deponent verbs which I talked about in the video on chapter 8. But ginomai is a bit of a weird, one of these weird verbs that does one or two slightly strange things. And again, it's probably simply, excuse me, a Bagster job. But in any case, so we've got pas ho gegenemnos, I beg your pardon, which is a masculine singular, a nominative singular, I beg your pardon, masculine participle, perfect passive. You'd be a genius to learn all of those sorts of forms. It's a Bagster job, but it's completed action. So and it's passive, so it's happened to you. It's not something you do. So we translated everyone who has, having been born, is a good way of translating a perfect participle. all of those who have been born. Ginomai means born, come into existence. Whole means a whole load of things actually, but here it's born. Eka to Theou, out of God, we say of God. Hamartian u poie, does not do sin. Hoti, because. And then sperma. You're going to guess that, aren't you? It's seed. We've had, I think, the verb spiro, to sow, and this essentially is third. It's a nominative. It's neuter nominative. Singular. It is, although it looks like the feminine nouns that you've already done, this is actually a third declension noun, and these are a bit odd as well, and we'll come to them in due course. But essentially, they're really weird because they form their genitive with ending in os, which makes you think it's a masculine neuter, a masculine nominative, and it isn't. It's actually a genitive. And this is a neuter noun, sperma, and this is a nominative form, and it's simply seed. Because the seed, autu of him, in auto menai, in him remains. So everyone who was born of God does not sin because God's seed. I'm not trying to think what the NIV, it is that translates its seed. God's seed remains in him. The seed of God remains, the seed of him remains in him. So God's seed remains. Menai, third person singular. And also, so God's seed remains in him. You probably need to rewind this video all sorts of points to pick this up. Don't worry, take your time. It's worth it. My nose is playing up. And then following Menai, Kai Udonatai. Donatai is from another weird verb. I'm sure proper Greek scholars will be horrified at me calling it a weird verb, but I do. Called dunamai. Dunamai is the. It looks like an AI verb we've covered in chapter 8, but it's slightly different. It goes dunamai, dunasai, dunatai, dunamatha, dunasthi, dunantai, which is the way it declines. It's very common, and it's from where we get the word. We've had it, I think, the noun form dynamos, dynamite, where we get that. Dunamai is another one. Is another one of the words that's actually very flexible. But it's to have the power to be able to be equipped to. It has that sort of feel. So here, Kai Udonatai, he is not able. This is third person singular. Dunamai, Dunasai, Dunatai. Not he is able. Hamartanai, there you've got a lovely infinitive, classic infinitive, with the ein ending. Can't go wrong. You can't get that wrong. Hamartano, hamartanai is the infinitive form. Not he is able to sin. Hoti, because ekatu Theou gegenata, because from God or of God, although literally means out of God, we would translate it because of God. And then gegenata is the third person singular indicative passive of ginomai, which we've already come across. Again, it's a bagster job. So because from God or of God, he is born, or he has been born. It's a perfect tense. I beg your pardon. Yes, so you can see that from the repetition of the gamma, gigamai, giganate. Sorry, it's an irregular. It's an irregular verb. You get used to gigamai. It occurs in all sorts of forms. Don't get too worried about it. It's easier to learn the individual words than learn how it how it goes. Getting there. So he's not able to sin because he has been born of God. Again, big theological discussion, which we won't get into because here we're concerned only with translating the text. Anyway, he says they cannot go on sinning. Interestingly, donatai, singular. The NIV has translated it in the plural, which I guess is permitted. He's not able to go on sinning because he has been born. They have been born of God. He has been born of God. It's okay to use the plural here, I think. Right, we got to verse 10. Never thought we'd get there. En tutau. Hutos is this word I was talking about. This. We've had earlier on. We had a different form of it. So we had ekainos earlier on. Here we have ekainos is that. Hutos is this, and this is the, I believe, although I've not looked it up, it is a dative form. Of course, it's dative. Under the influence of the N, it could be masculine or neuter, I believe. So in this way, or in this, you don't really need to translate it in this way. In this, I don't know why Duff has put in this way. Phanera, we've had Phaneroo already. This is neuter plural of phaneros, clear, known, apparent, revealed, which is the way Duff's gone with it. In this, revealed is. In this way is revealed. In this is revealed. In this is revealed. Tatekna to Theo, the children of God. Hopefully, you have got there with with that already. Tatekna to Theo, Kai Tatekna to Diablo, and the children of God. In this is revealed who is the children of God and who's the children of the devil. This is how we know who the children of God are and who are the children of who the children of the devil are. Is how the NIV goes for this. Fine, you place your money, you take your choice, and then finally pass ho me poio dikaiosene, all not righteousness doing. Everyone who doesn't do what's righteous is ugestin ek to theo, doesn't come from God, it doesn't belong to God. We've had all these words before. It's simple enough. It's classic Johannine language. That's if you believe that John wrote the Johannine epistles. I do, others disagree. Classic Johannine language, actually. So everyone not doing righteousness is not of God. Everyone who doesn't do what is right is not of God. Kai ha me agapone. Agapone is from agape. This is the verbal form. Agapao it's another weird verb. Here, though, is clearly a participle, much as poion is a participle. Loving ton adelphon out to the brother of him. So everyone not doing righteousness is not of God, neither those who don't love their brothers and sisters, which is the gender inclusive language of the NIV. And so, verse 10 in the NIV, this is how we know who the children of God are and who the children of the devil are. Those who do not do what is right are not God's children, nor are those who do not love their brothers and sisters. So, hopefully, that has all made sense. I'm slightly disturbed by the fact it's taken 50 minutes to get there, and I'm kind of thinking we probably won't get through it all on Wednesday. If you'd like to join in that session, you're absolutely welcome. Don't worry about necessarily being up to speed on this. It's great fun. We get you start getting some really interesting discussions then about the not only the translation of the Greek New Testament, but actually what it means and whether some of the things that we always thought it means it may not necessarily be completely accurate. So, hope you've found this useful. Please don't be daunted by all the things you don't know. Most of the things that you didn't know that you've learned today are things that with using the Greek New Testament you become more and more familiar with until they become almost second nature. So as long as you've got Bagster, as long as you've got common sense and an English translation probably as well, and a decent commentary, you can get there and you can enter into the debate about the meaning of the Greek text. Listen, I've enjoyed making this video, and I hope you don't regard it as torture, but find it useful. It's the pickings of my very limited knowledge of New Testament Greek, which I really enjoy sharing with you. And I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye.